Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Real Motherfucking Talk. For today's episode of Real Motherfucking Talk, we're gonna do a comparison on two of the best rock guitarists who have ever lived and picked up a 6-string razor in the history of guitar players in general. Today we're going to take a look at Zakk Wylde versus Randy Rhoads. Now see, Zakk Wylde is pretty much like a new reincarnation, but there was just something about Randy Rhoads. I mean, Randy Rhoads, he just had this kind of swag. He just had this kind of something. I don't know what it is, but something about him just shits all over Zakk Wylde. And I'm going to tell you, because you listening to Randy Rhoads' guitar playing and his solos, he was just, you know, like Zakk Wylde. If you think Zakk Wylde, you think, oh, Southern blues rock style guitar. All Zakk Wylde is playing is some blues licks with some heavy distortion. But Randy Rhoads, as far as his licks in general, just was on a whole nother level in general. But you gotta look at musicianship. Zakk Wylde takes it head on, because for somebody to play with Ozzy and still have their own band and maintain so well, like, see, and one thing that Zakk Wylde has over Randy Rhoads is Zakk Wylde can sing. He has an extremely good rock singing voice, and if you listen to Black Label Society, he's got like the perfect heavy metal rock voice, and he just takes over. And that's one thing that he had over Randy Rhoads, was the fact that he could sing. Randy Rhoads, on the other hand, was just a guitar player. And I never really consider Randy Rhoads as like, you know what I mean, a premier, you know, like a big, you know, star, you know. Randy Rhoads, I would just really consider Randy Rhoads like, he was not the Kobe of guitar playing. I'm just gonna put it out there right now. Because, you know, he was just a good lead guitar player. And that's pretty much all he did, was he played guitar, because I don't think he could really sing. And if he did sing, then he never did sing. If he could, I mean, because, you know, you gotta look. He started off with a Quiet Riot. That's when he broke off, right? But when you think Quiet Riot back, not Metal Health, Bang Your Head, because that was Carlos Cerveza. When you think back then, Quiet Riot, you just think Randy Rhoads. Okay, he was the lead guitarist for Quiet Riot, but he never did anything that stood him out to the point where he couldn't be untouched. He was just another lead guitarist, okay? And then, like, if you understand what I'm saying here, you're gonna agree right with me, because Zakk Wylde, when Zakk Wylde gets up on the stage, he is the star, okay? He is the star. Because he can sing, he can play guitar like nobody's business, and you know what I mean? He's a very personable guy. When you think Randy Rhoads, all you thought was, oh, he was just an extremely good guitar player, but nothing more. Zakk Wylde has the total package, and that's what he has over Randy Rhoads, is the fact that he can do just a little bit up there more. And Zakk Wylde can play piano too. And I could have sworn Randy Rhoads could, but I'm not sure. You're going to have to Google it or whatever you want to do. But Zakk Wylde, as far as being the total package, that was what he had over Zakk Wylde. I mean Randy Rhoads. I'm sorry. Zakk Wylde. I'm tripping. But, you know, you still got to look as far as guitar skills. Randy Rhoads was on the next level here. He was on the next level. Okay? For the 1980s, some of the stuff he was doing was insane. Randy Rhoads was probably the best competitor for Eddie Van Halen, because he made Eddie Van Halen want to be better, because Eddie Van Halen was like the Brink lead guitarist. You think Van Halen, you automatically think Eddie Van Halen, Eruption, all those hits. But Randy Rhoads made Eddie Van Halen try so hard and do so much, okay? And I'm sure everybody was weeping, but at the same time, people were like, okay, this Randy Rhoads guy, he's off my nutsack now. Because, see, he was up there with Van Halen, and I could see towards more of the 80s, Eddie Van Halen was trying to, he was trying to outdo Randy Rhoads, and Randy Rhoads was just kind of keeping him in the master lock, you know, because Randy Rhoads for the late 70s and 80s, some of the stuff he was doing was extremely insane. And for somebody who's only been active, who had been active in the music business for about 6 years, and to get all that recognition, his own amp, his own pedal, his own Jackson freaking guitar, that is freaking, they use the same model all the time. Like, I don't even think Jackson guitars were even that big in the 80s. And then when Randy Rhoads finally started using them, and he just automatically died, they've been using that same shape for about 20, maybe even 30 years. Okay? And so, you know, he's just... Randy Rhoads, when you think him, you think he's got a legacy. And for somebody who hasn't been in this music business for that long, I mean, the music business in general, for somebody who hasn't been active that long, you know, for somebody who hadn't gotten famous until the Ozzy days, which he only lasted for maybe about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years at the most, you gotta think, you know, he had all those hits. He had Ozzy's hits. So when you think Randy Rhoads, you think Randy Rhoads, he carries a legacy, okay? Randy Rhoads, without Randy Rhoads, Ozzy would not be who he was today. And back to the Zakk Wylde. Zakk Wylde, he had the ability to make his own band, do his own kind of music, while still maintaining that Ozzy gig. And what Ozzy Osbourne was looking for when he first scouted out Zakk Wylde in, I think, like the 90s or something like that, early 90s, he was trying to find a reincarnation of Randy Rhoads. He was basically trying to find a reincarnation of Randy Rhoads. And see, the one thing that Randy Rhoads had, you know, the one thing that Randy Rhoads couldn't really touch Zakk Wylde is Zakk Wylde had that originality. When Zakk Wylde shred, you were like, wow, he's taking this blues and he's pretty much turning it 360 around, okay? Zakk Wylde, okay, he just overdid the blues so much, and he was just so innovative. And when people heard Zakk, when you usually think the blues, you usually think the blues is a style where you're putting your soul in. But Zakk Wylde, he took the blues and he took shred guitar and he made a baby, and he's considered one of the greatest guitarists who is actively playing right now, okay? Because, you know, he just took the blues style and just turned it into like something new. Like when you hear Zakk Wylde, all his licks are blues licks, but he's like he's playing them so damn fast. He just took the blues style and just shredded it out. I mean, you have to be an innovator. You have to be pretty freaking creative to take some blues licks and play them as fast as you can, and you have to be pretty good. Cause I've tried to. I play guitar, and I've tried to play, I know how to play some Zakk Wylde licks. I do. I know how to play blues licks. But when you look at Zakk Wylde, when he's doing a DVD or something, when he's playing a show, and he's playing those kinds of licks, I mean, there is no stopping. He's just letting them flow. I mean, that's what Zakk Wylde can do. Zakk Wylde can get off as far as blues shred, okay? He's playing these blues licks so fast, and some of these blues licks, they are kind of hard to do. So when you play them at the speed of light, I mean, it's you have to have some sort of creative mind to want to do that. And that's what Zakk Wylde had. Zakk Wylde is one of the kings of rock guitar today, and arguably is going to go down as one of the greatest. But I mean, Zakk Wylde versus Randy Rhoads, I mean, as far as guitar skills, Randy Rhoads, like I said in this, he has a whole new level and a whole new, I mean, it just all depends on the image. Zakk Wylde has this wild, you know, scruffy, out of control, beer drinking, you know, kind of attitude, and that really comes out in his guitar playing. When you listen to him shred, it really that attitude really comes out. And on the other hand, Randy Rhoads has that, you know, that 80s, you know, kind of mullet haircut, you know what I mean? One of those kind of quiet kids, but just shreds it out. But as far as Zakk Wylde versus Randy Rhoads, I mean, Zakk Wylde, let's end it on this. Randy Rhoads, as far as guitar playing, literally butt rapes Zakk Wylde. Okay, as far as guitar skills and guitar tricks and swag, but as far as soul and musicianship and the ability to take one instrument and completely switch it to your liking, Zakk Wylde has it. See, what Zakk Wylde had over Randy Rhoads is that creative thinking. He took the piano and brought it to heavy metal. He took blues and brought it to heavy metal. So Randy Rhoads takes credit for all those Ozzy hits, and I believe Randy Rhoads is gonna go down. He's already pretty much gone down as one of the greatest. But as far as guitar playing, yeah, Randy Rhoads butt raped Zakk. But still, Zakk is very good. He's freaking good. But as far as having that creative, that type of new innovative style, Zakk Wylde takes over. This has been your boy Mo Keach saying, love Jesus, love God. Fuck you bitches.